Barbara Hulanicki, OBE. I have great excitement and pleasure in introducing Barbara Hulanicki, founder of the iconic British label Biba, in an exclusive interview on behalf of the Manchester Fashion Institute. Barbara Hulanicki was awarded an OBE for her services to fashion in 2012. However, back in the late 1950s, after she studied at Brighton Art College, she began her career in the early 60s as a freelance fashion illustrator. In 1964, she founded her business as a small mail order company called Biba's Postal Boutique and got a break selling a pink and white gingham dress and matching headscarf through her contact Felicity Green, fashion editor at the Daily Mirror. This struck a chord with the younger public, and the dress became an instant success, selling around 17,000 units, allowing her and her late husband, Stephen Fitzsimon, to open their first London boutique in '66, ending with her fourth move to Big Biba in the mid-70s. This 7-storey building offered a new concept of lifestyle retailing. Built in 1932, Barbara instantly fell in love with it. She created 15 departments, transforming the interior of the store at a cost of the equivalent of around £16 million in today's money. The interior design was based on individual sets built for each department, ranging from pop art, Victoriana, Art Nouveau and Art Deco. Biba became a hangout for artists, film stars, rock musicians including Mick Jagger and David Bowie, and she worked with some of the best photographers in the business, including Helmut Newton, Hans Furrer and Sarah Moon. Had the 1960s British model Twiggy photographed in her iconic fake fur leopard print coat. You could buy everything you ever wanted at an affordable price. The timeline for her success lasted 11 years, and after her business closed, she moved to South America, working for Fiorucci and Cacciarel, and then she moved to Florida, where she has lived for the past 25 years. Now, in her 80s, she continues to work as a creative consultant for high street labels, designs hotel interiors to accessories, has her own online business, and continues to inspire us, quoting in her closing comment of this interview, "I do like clothes, but not fashion." Barbara has kindly allowed me into her Miami studio to interview her, taking us back to the 60s and 70s at the height of her early career, and to give you some advice for starting out in the world of fashion today. You will hear if her past allows us to explore new boundaries and challenge conventional wisdom. Enjoy. There are moments in fashion history when a label or designer become part of that movement and remain part of our heritage and create DNA. For you, when you look back at what you did, is it still flattering to be such a huge influence on the design process today?
It's more than flattering, because I just want to say that we never ever heard anything but complaints when we were in Biba with Fitz and I. And we got to a stage where we daren't go out at night because people were just like, something dropped off and the buttons dropped off, until it was closed. And then I went down, I was just shopping, I went to Fiorucci in Knightsbridge, and this woman comes up to me with tears and she said, "What am I going to do? I'll never be able to find the right colour tights." And I said, "Really? Well, why didn't we hear about this before?" It's amazing. But I think that's a British way. In America, you hear nothing but nice things.
You were the first to create an affordable lifestyle brand that not only dressed us but we could live by and put lifestyle on the map. Where else could you buy music, makeup, clothes for the whole family, buy food, pet food, eat in your restaurant, relax in your rooftop gardens and admire the pink flamingos? What was the concept behind this magnificent store?
Well, it was because, it started small, I mean, as you can imagine, and this, the introduction of different departments was because in the 60s and early 70s, you couldn't buy, people don't realize this today, that you just couldn't buy anything, that the only places you could buy was something maybe in Paris or in Europe, that I was doing things that I wanted to see in England. I didn't want to have to go over, travel miles to buy a piece of cheese. I wanted to buy it in London. And, you know, the young market was just open for it. I mean, it was amazing. They were lapping it up. Because there was such a difference between the two generations. You have no idea. The older generation was so Victorian and so stuffy. And they'd been through the war, and so they've been through a lot of problems. And this marvelous young lot that came out, they were just hungry for everything, for colour. There was no food. I mean, the restaurants only served Heinz spaghetti in tomato sauce. And I mean, you have no clue how bad it was. Wow. Really. Wow. And that was 1964.
You started as a fashion illustrator, then won a competition to have your design promoted through a newspaper. Can you explain how this changed your life?
Oh, it was amazing, because it wasn't just the fact that I won it. It was that I was being brought up, because my father was killed, we were sort of being brought up by this sort of wonderful ogre aunt who was very 30s and very grand and diamonds and feathers and whatever. And she said to me one day, oh, there's a competition. Whatever I did, whatever I wore was always wrong. Everything was wrong. So she said, there's a competition and I would like you to sit down and you draw what I'll tell you, this wonderful design. Okay, Auntie. So I sat down, I drew it for her, and it was a very sort of strange thing that you wore, you know, throughout the day, and you could just change. By the time you got to the evening, you were in an evening dress or something. And so then I thought, oh right, I think I'll just enter for something that I want to do, which was the bathing suit thing. And so I did. And then, you know, about 2-3 weeks later, after they'd judged the competition, I happened to answer the phone that day, and I go to the phone and they say, well, we'd love to tell you that, this was Evening Standard, yes, that you've won the competition. So it was like out of 7,000 of each category, right? So I said, oh, how wonderful, I'll tell my aunt. She said, what, describe to me, who, no. She said, no, it's not that. It's this swimming suit. I thought I was nearly passed out because I had to ring her and tell her, because I phoned up, hello, Auntie. I really got a kick out of that one. And I said, Auntie, you know the competition? Well, I've won it. And she said, darling, I knew. So Auntie, actually, it wasn't your outfit, it was mine. She wouldn't talk to me after that.
You launched your Biba shop back in 1964 on Abingdon Road, then moved to Church Street, Kensington in 1966, 50 years ago, and moved in 1973 to Big Biba, Kensington High Street. This in itself redefined the high street shopping experience. So today, which city, street or place would you launch your store if you were to do it again?
Honestly, it was so easy in those days because we went to a very low area. The area was very rough around High Street, which of course it isn't now today. And down Abingdon Road was really like a bedsit. And Fitz was amazing at finding sort of properties for nothing. And so every sort of 2 years we had to move because we were so full. People were just sort of spilling out of the shop. So we sort of moved from one to the other. There's four moves, yes, yeah. And it was always because somebody didn't want the premises. And that was the same thing with the big store. It was going to be pulled down and wrecked. And I went berserk and I thought, I don't know, the English at the time didn't have the sort of appreciation of Art Deco. They were very into Victoriana, Art Nouveau, but Deco was a little bit, sort of nouveau riche and trashy. Not in the 60s, not then, but at the time. And God, when we went up there, Fitz and I went, come on, let's go up. The roof garden was still open to the public. And it was very decaying throughout. And we just went up there, and we went with Vitold, who was tiny. And I said, Fitz, we just can't let this go. I mean, it can't. He said, all right, I'll get it for you. So I said, okay. When I met Fitz, he said, the future is now in mail order, which is really like what's happening now, isn't it? And he said, I think you should go back to designing. So I said, oh, all right, you know, two seams and a dart. So it's all right, I think we can cope with that one, to manufacture it. And we had quite a lot of these articles out with Jill Butterfield, Felicity Green, a lot of the Barbara Griggs, who were the really big editors. And, you know, we were sort of selling sort of like 200 each one, and not making any money. We had to spend all night packing, and it got really tiresome. And then one day Felicity Green calls me in, and she said, Barbara, she's really frightening press lady, and so I went along, and she said, I want you to design a special dress for us. I said, okay, and I described the dress, and at the time it was Bridget Bardot was in Saint-Tropez doing her pink gingham thing, and she said, yes, that's fine. And then she said, I want it for 25 shillings. I said, yes, of course. So, of course, when I got home, Fitz was nearly bananas. He said, don't ever price anything. Because, you know, it was completely underpriced like mad. And not having worked out what the making prices were, and where we could get it made, and how much was the fabric. And things like gingham, for instance, it takes years to... It's a very long process because it's woven, it's not printing. So, of course, there was no gingham in town either.
Were any of your garments made in Manchester? Any fabrics from Manchester?
Well, this was the big thing, is that we're desperate for this fabric because we're getting orders and orders and orders. You know, we're reaching like 10,000, 12,000, 17,000. Got no fabric, no manufacturing, no patterns. Can you imagine? No grading. Thank God, it was usually one size only. And this wonderful man from Manchester comes down, the representative, and he said, I got all the gingham you want. I said, great. And of course it wasn't pink, it was kind of coral. But that saved the day. And from then on in Manchester, this was a company called Burgess Ledward. I'm not sure if they're still there. And they developed all our fabrics, because we would dye up, as we got bigger and bigger, we would dye up the 10, 12 colors and have that in stock. And they would dye up, they would develop all the fabric bases. They brought out this wonderful old boy from, he had been retired because I kept using these old fabrics from Pontings, which were sort of fake. They were fake silks and things of the 30s. So he said, oh, we know exactly how to do this. We've been doing this for years. And there was no, you know, nobody was interested in it, but we can bring this chap out from retirement, and he came out and did all the fabrics for us. Fantastic. Yeah, and they printed everything for us too.
You have described in the past Biba as rebellious and theatrical. What were your inspirations?
Oh, definitely a film at the time. To start off with, it was all those Technicolor. To start with, the Technicolor was just the so beautiful, soft color. It was very bright colors, but it sort of got like a haze over it. And it's so sad because she died today. It was like Debbie Reynolds and sort of Gene Kelly and all that, all the musicals. That one was like really very influenced by, and the costumes in that. And No, that was, and then it was sort of Garbo and Dietrich as we got a bit more sophisticated.
Which of your contemporaries do you consider to be influential back in the 1960s, and why?
60s, Ozzy Clark was very, I mean, he really knew how to cut. He was incredible. And there was an awful lot of, we lived by the Elle magazine, because that in the sort of 64, it's just the way they presented everything and the colour and sort of really, you ran every week just to see what they've done, which was amazing. And there were sort of people like, funnily enough, not at the end of her life, but at the beginning, Sonia Raquel was just amazing. And all the Kathy McGann and all the crowd on Ready, Steady, Go used to sort of wait for these clothes to come. Because there was a funny sort of underground, which is now too the same way, but it's the whole world, is that I could ring up, because I had worked in the magazines and so on, a few secretaries, 2, 3, 4, and everybody everybody of a certain age would know about the news. It was like it was incredible.
Have any of them remained influential today in the fashion world?
They're all dead, aren't they?
You've got Twiggy.
What? Oh yeah, the Twiggy, but she's not a designer. No. She wasn't then, no.
Do you think that any of today's designers will be remembered in 50 years' time? If so, who?
I think the ones that managed to stay independent, yes. But the ones that go and sell their souls, you know, they have so little to say, because it's usually, I'm sorry, I'm going to say there are just too many men in the business, and the business side of it. Yeah. I don't mean design. I mean Alexander McQueen, John Galliano, because they were sort of like when it was getting really wild, and then now it's usually find that it gets wild and then boom, and it gets very solid, and then especially in England.
In your words, you have been quoted as saying, "Fashion today is so boring." Can you expand on this?
If I said it today, yes, it's dreadful, because it's sort of been taken over by the stylist and the photographer, so you can't really tell unless you look up the shows of what is being, the designers seem to be frightened of doing their own thing and sort of going.
If you were starting it all over again, would you do anything different?
Oh no, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't have that chance that I had, and you have to have somebody really good at the business side and marketing, because at that stage you're not really. I mean, well, I suppose in my day it was sort of early days of marketing, and Fitz was amazing at sort of, because he had worked in an advertising agency and he'd done recruitment ads for the army, so they really had to get them in, and he was doing the same thing with the Biba, with the little ads that we were, and then of course the minute we did a catalogue, I wanted to do a catalogue because I wanted to do the photography part, to show people, you know, what the girls should be looking like. And that took us up, you know, very fast.
What would you say was the highlight, proudest moment of your career?
Highlight? Oh, I don't think it's been one yet.
Describe your current working day.
Really? Well, it's work.
What would you never wear?
Well, now it'd be different. We colour.
Do you think it would even be possible for anybody now to repeat what you and your husband Fitz did in encapsulating the spirit of the times with Biba, that was always more than just a product?
It's so important, is that we were sitting in the back of the shop, and we knew what I didn't have to listen to any sort of design board or anybody who said this is what it should be. You listen to your public and you know what's selling, and if it's selling, you follow it through. And then after a while, you become quite psychic. So you can never be too far away. You have to be just like two steps ahead to just get them at the right minute.
Did the financial complications that came from having such authentic values at the heart of your brand put you off advising graduates from following their creative dreams in preference to building a strong business plan?
There are things that I was never taught at school, and I was lucky to marry the right man, and that's financial and also selling. But I mean real selling, not marketing, blah, 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 sort of in wonderful rooms of marketing ideas and so on. It just taking that thing and taking it to a client and selling them a product.
How important is your creative authenticity within the corporate collaborations you have been part of since the closure of the original Biba? Are they part of a long-term plan to keep the spirit of Biba alive, or simply business-based decisions?
No, I love the collaborations because I don't do the production, because that's another business. I mean, that's another business that forget creativity, that's learning that side of it, and it's so heartbreaking. And this is why there's one time that men are really good at it, because they're not very emotionally involved. But I mean, to me, every time the sample would come in wrong, it was like...
Biba grew organically and was accepted by the consumer to grow and flourish back in the 60s and 70s, thus reflecting the movement of fashion at the time in such a pure and reactionary form. In today's age of internet and digital communication, ideas are spread and propagated before they even have time to exist, let alone evolve. Do you think that the internet was meant to set individuals free, but has it instead taken away the time individuals need to grow and evolve?
I think it's a little bit too fast, and I think let's just think about the internet as PR and forget about anything else. It just sometimes you get a hit, okay, follow it through. But honestly, just stop thinking it's going to save your day. It's not. I mean, it helps if you've got a shop and things. Again, it's PR.
Wisdom is so hard to qualify when talking to our students today who want it all and want it now, and base their success on the amount of likes strangers make on their online posts. A wisdom based on trusting instinct and making mistakes and learning from our own reflections instead of what thousands of strangers want to say in unqualified critiques online does not allow for longevity, and it seems impossible to imagine who the Barbara Hulanicki of the future could be. How can we protect the wisdom that allowed your generation to grow? And how can humanity protect and re-establish the value of age, experience and mistakes?
Well, go and try and sell something and see if it sells. And I feel sorry for people who don't have their own shops, because they have to talk to a buyer who's an ego thing as well. It's their buying, greatness. And so you're never ever bang next to your public, the actual person who. And it's so exciting to see when you've hit the right button, when people, pick. But that, I always found it's better to spread your so you don't do one color, which is ridiculous. I mean, because the day is funny, the color doesn't look right. That you spread your load across a lot of colors, a lot of styles. If you've got one style that's going, category of style, say it's a blouse, suddenly, wow, I mean, we suddenly found, wow, we're selling more blouses than we're selling dresses. But that wasn't so, because it was always dresses. That you follow it through. And it's just, The best thing, I think, for a student is to go and work, first of all, in a shop that you really like, and work in a stockroom, a really big store. You learn so much. And I find, even today, the way, say, for instance, like 2 seasons ago, there was all this navy, okay, all right. You go to the big stores in America, for instance, and you look to see what's left over on the sales racks, and then you know what was a bummer. And all these gorgeous things about, I think it was 2 years ago, that were hanging, and they were navy, and they weren't black, and they were all on sale. And I thought, told you so, you should have done them black.
Thank you for talking to me and our students today, and for your words of wisdom in which we can carry with us for the next 50 years.
Oh God, wisdom.
So, thank you.
Thank you too. It's an illustration, but you know, you get your face right. It's, to me, it's all about the face.
Doing it so it sounds gentle. Are you okay with this?
Am I working?
We're good at this.
What?
Yeah. She's just a color out. Yeah.
And it depends what mood you're in. Sometimes they're really bad-tempered. They're like bitches.
Yeah. Do you think that gives a good look? If that's a strong look, is that the bad temper?
No. Depends how bitchy.
Yeah.
Whether it's a nice bitch or nasty bitch.
So illustration and drawing, that's really so important, you would say?
Yes, absolute draw. Even if you're tracing, even if you're, you know, but it's better to draw from life, maybe. You have to just keep drawing anything, all the time.
And in what medium? You're drawing in pencils?
Yeah, I usually use felt pens. Depends on a finished thing. I'll do another layer, say. Well, if it's an illustration, if you're going to have it going on computer and copies done, it's better to do
so your
stronger.
Your initial drawings are you're freehanding them?
Yeah.
And then you will scan them into the computer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then fiddle with them, with colour and stuff like that. I don't like this thing of drawing with the computer, with that computer stick on.
So this is showing the emotion, how you're sketching is bringing an emotion in of an illustration.
Yeah, and usually you can keep on and on doing this, and it's not right, just screw them along. And then suddenly I find like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, whoops, it comes right. I don't know why, it seems to be a magic moment.
And that's a good time for you?
Yes, it seems to, yeah. It's obviously accepted.
Are you doing any collaboration for any clothing lines?
Yes.
New clothing lines?
Yeah, I've got 2 big ones which I'm not allowed to talk about.
I won't ask you that. I can't bribe you to tell me.
Doing shoes. I hope I'm doing bags. Anything that I'm not producing myself. Yeah. I can't remember what else. Sort of. Yeah.
Interior? Any interior?
Oh, yeah.
Are you working on any of the hotels here?
Not here, no.
You did a collaboration for Chris Blackwell?
Yes, but he sold everything about 5 years ago,
Right.
and they've all been redone.
Right.
But and we're working on in the Keys at the moment, and we're just waiting for them to start up the next building.
The Florida Keys?
Yes, down there, and waiting for them to say go ahead. We're manufacturing all the furniture in India.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
In India?
Yeah.
Where in India?
I don't know, secret.
Okay.
With the man who does it, and he goes all over the place, and No, that's really nice because it comes in really good looking.
Because you've done interiors for a long time.
Yeah,
haven't
about
you?
10, 12 years.
Yeah. And your lifestyle
yeah.
work around creating that lifestyle look has been very important to you, hasn't it?
But it was in Biba too. That was almost the first thing, and then you put the clothes in.
Yeah.
That it was supposed, you know, the first shop was supposed to look like your sitting room.
Yeah.
So it was all
And did you have that in mind? Is that how you wanted to start it, or did
yes, it had to be home, because in those days the shops were horrible. They were sort of mass made by outside companies, and we were using a real furniture that we bought down in the markets. Yeah. And sofas, you always had to have a sofa for the boys, because I had a husband who hated shopping. So I thought, right, you can sit there and watch
Can I ask you, how did you dress your windows?
We never did windows, because unless you have a professional group that does it, it's awful when the staff, you know, the staff in the shop do it. Put the stuff on, and the hats are always in the wrong place, and
They're wonky.
no, it
Doesn't
looks
look good.
awful.
It doesn't look good. And your Church Street store, your first store, you didn't have your branding outside.
No, exactly. Well, I thought that would be really cool not to have, it worked. And then I think it's when we did the mail order, then we had to put the name up. No, because also Fitz came to me and he said, listen, you've got, we didn't have a name. And he said, you've got 2 hours to think of a name. Which was funny, yeah. Yeah, everything's been used up now, yeah. So, but people find a new way of doing things, don't they? Because when somebody's being genuine, people will find you. They really will dig you up. But, you know, now it's like across the whole country. It's not like in one town, is it?
But what you've done, the influence that you've created, that is the uniqueness, is that you still have obviously such a passion for what you're doing.
I do like fashion. I do like clothes, not fashion.
You like clothes. You
Yeah.
put clothing in.
Yeah,
And
tremendous. It looks really silly.
Is there anywhere that you love shopping here in Miami?
I do like the malls, I must say. And then, you know, Lincoln Road is great. And well, it's not for shopping so much. And very interesting, especially in Miami, because you get completely every weekend, every almost day, you get completely different people coming in. You get one day you'll have everybody over 50 blonde, sort of Sweden, I don't know. Then you'll get another all black day with very skinny, beautiful black girls. And then you'll get another lot of very chubby ones. You're not allowed to say fat anymore, are you? Or skinny. And I love what the men are doing. The guys are incredible in the sneakers, and especially down here because they bring down their new clothes. So they're very, you know, fashion orientated.
And do you love living in Miami?
Yeah, it's very comfy. Yeah. Yes. Yes, because when we first came here, it was like there was nothing. We were just saying the other day, there was one restaurant, one supermarket. You had to go 50 miles to go to the cinema. You had the malls. There was nothing, absolutely nothing.
And the art exhibitions that they have here
in the city. Incredible.
Fantastic.
I mean, Art Basil's just brought in such an international crowd. And every weekend there's something going on, you know, music or... It's very interesting.
It's very stimulating.
Yes, no, it's really interesting, yeah.
Fabulous.
They even have the porn Oscars here.
I marvel.